Hi, I'm Dr. Kim Sage. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. Welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you're here. I am so happy to share with you that I have a new kitten. But I was going to bring her today, but in between this last video that I made yesterday, obviously I'm wearing the same shirt, but she's still sleeping, so maybe in the next few days. I definitely want to post her on TikTok soon. She's so freaking cute. It's also why I didn't post on Monday. Okay, so we're talking this week in this series of this sort of larger healing love dynamic that I've been working on, helping us understand how our childhoods impact our adult relationships. And never is that more true than if you were raised by a highly narcissistic type parent, a parent who really struggled. And in fact, I have a course, 75 lessons on healing and dealing with the trauma of being raised by borderline or narcissistic parents who remained untreated. Or maybe you're just like, I don't even know what borderline looks like. I thought it was narcissism, and now I'm questioning it after watching some of your videos. I go into all of that, the differences and the similarities, and then it's filled with, meditations, affirmations, exercises, journals, tons of videos. So please check those links out below. I know I keep mentioning it, but it is my really only way of sharing this course with you guys, because I just don't have time to figure out any other kind of strategies for marketing right now. And I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I'm not a good salesperson, but I truly believe with every ounce of who I am that if you were raised by parents like this, that you will benefit from this course. I truly believe that, because I had, a doctorate and I didn't fully understand what happened to me until the last, I would say, 5 to 7 years. And it wasn't just my own work, but working with patients who had these kind of parents. So we're talking about narcissistic parents and how we can feel and say and kind of believe certain things. And one of the hallmark issues with this type of dynamic is that we start to believe that we only matter, we are only worthy when we are performing and delivering, when we are being caretakers, when we are achieving, when we're successful, when we get the trophy, when we get the ribbon. And why is that? Because these parents taught us very early that it only matters when we are doing things that they value, right? We only get their love when we are reflecting their light. And so the two first criteria of having narcissistic, qualities are having a grandiose sense of self and basically being preoccupied with fantasies of success, of brilliance, of achievement. And so they are just these walking, living, and breathing humans that exude you only matter when you're sparkly and shiny, and you don't matter when you're not. And so their need to be admired and all of that, it makes it very clear that they only value when they're being admired, or other people who are worthy of being admired. And so therefore you start to believe that. And then they also will, talk badly about other people who are ignorant or stupid or not good enough. It's very clear there's a very big standard here, or hierarchy, about who's important and who matters and who doesn't. And you learn that from the time you're little. Like, imagine being a baby or a toddler and listening to your parent talk about other things like that, right? You don't have the language for it, but you start to hear their tone of voice shift, the sort of condescension in their voice, the way they speak about, oh, that teacher thinks she's so smart, that preschool teacher, she only has a master's degree, who does she think she is? Something like that, right? You're like, I don't even know what that is, but you learn very quickly. And then you also, even more importantly, only get reinforced for things that they care about. And it's very common for narcissists to be better when the kids are little, when the kids can run up to them and have, lights in their eyes at the parent. But the minute those kids start to separate and become mature, especially narcissistic parents will perceive that as a threat, as a mark against them, right? So as opposed to you becoming more autonomous and wanting independence, they see that as you don't want to be around them or you don't like them. Now, that's often the case. You've started to realize that you don't get your needs met with them, but any separation behavior will be interpreted as a threat. By the way, assuming you're not a narcissist watching this, it is really important to know that for our own kids sometimes, as they mature and pull away, that because of our own wounding childhoods, we can perceive their autonomy and independence and differentiation and separation as a threat, when oftentimes it's a normal developmental behavior. So we'll talk about that maybe in another video. So make sure you do more work on that. If you're thinking that all of a sudden your child's getting older and you're feeling really triggered, it might just be that you're feeling triggered because of your own childhood and your own wounds. So the bottom line is that we only matter when we are, as I said, performing and delivering. And the outcomes here are that we internalize that achievement or fame, success, beauty are all that matters. So we don't matter. We are nothing when we're not doing those things. that even though we want to reject this idea, up here, as I always say, our heart space doesn't believe it. So I might say to you in therapy, well, I know that I don't need to do that, that I matter, but inside I really do feel that way. And it shows up in how I don't set boundaries, how I don't ask for what I need, how I accept inappropriate behavior, or whatever it is, right? And then we often use shame and blame as a self-motivator. We take that parent's voice and we internalize it. And as I always say, and that's my other course on becoming the internalized parent and the internalized child, that you are both. And so that internalized parent, that's like me right now, is telling that internalized child, well, you know what, you're for example, you know, if you don't post that video on Monday, you said Monday through Friday, you're not being a professional, you're not being appropriate, you're not holding yourself accountable. And so that's dumb, right? It's like, I'm allowed to miss a day sometimes, or I can change those days if I want to. I'm in charge. I can only post one day if I want to, right? So, but oftentimes that voice becomes, you know, get off the couch. You're so lazy. You're so stupid, blah, blah, blah. So we internalize their shame voice to motivate ourselves, right? It's like a terrible, horrible coach who's wounding, but we're doing it to ourselves. The next thing is when we succeed, it never feels good enough anyway, because we don't feel good enough no matter what. We often are harsh judgments of ourselves, and it's never enough. So that if I'm a VP, a vice president, I need to be the CEO. And once I get CEO, now I'm not good enough because I'm not, you know, running a startup and I'm not the owner of the company, right? It just goes on and on and on. And so we often will also judge other people sharply, right? We don't just judge ourselves, we judge them too. And so it's just like this icky, yucky world of like, they're never enough and we're never enough. And it's because we've internalized that voice that we only matter when we are doing. That's that expression, right? We're not human doings, we're human beings. But that is what we believe. And so the questions are how to heal yourself is to start to look at with a journal perhaps, you know, courses, books, podcasts, research. How do I judge myself? Looking at how do I do that? Where do I have language and words and beliefs about what my value is? How do I judge others? Do I say it too much out loud in the car? Do I find myself just quickly going to judge someone and thinking like, why am I doing that? So working on trying to catch yourself when you do that. Try to reframe it. You know what? That person is doing their best. I'm doing my best. You know, I'll try to find love inside. I wonder if they're struggling with something I don't know about, as opposed to just judging their appearance or their job or what they're doing. To make a self-compassion list of all the things that you've survived, and then to write it from the level of your internalized mother, talking to your inner child. So honoring all the things about you, not just the things that were successful, that you achieved, but just like all the things that got you through, that were a part of who you are. To use loving language as you speak to your inner child, try to catch yourself. To create mantras around things you can tell yourself. You know, as I said, you're just a human being and human beings are complex. Or you are worthy of being in this room and you are worthy of love, things like that. Every time you notice you're doing those sort of things where you're setting yourself up because you didn't get the trophy first place, or you just got CEO, whatever it is, and to try to lean into being, you know, present and your success being enough as it is. It doesn't mean you have to stop driving and pushing and dreaming, but if you're always attaching your value to the next thing, it's really hard to ever feel good in the moment, right? It's hard for it to ever, or anyone else, or anything to be enough. And lastly, to deal with your body triggers. I always talk about this, but this idea lives in your nervous system. The idea is that a parent's behaviors and size and engagement and disconnection and connection, all of that was wired with your attachment and their nervous system. And so you might be walking around with a lot of anxiety because if you never feel enough, the world is happy to tell you that you are not enough, right? It takes 30 seconds on Instagram, on TikTok. You know, I was off TikTok this last few days because I got my kitten, but also because I hadn't been sleeping and I was tired. And I'm always thinking like, is this, you know, do I want to say this? Is this enough? And then if you're not mindful of that, it's really easy to be triggered by watching everyone else's content, which just seems so much better, so much more important, so much more engaging. And then you think, oh, screw it. Why am I even trying, right? This creator is maybe doing something that I think is unethical. They're giving advice. They're judging people they shouldn't, but their accounts are blowing up. You know, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. It's not who I am. So why bother? I mean, that's how I might think sometimes. Not might think, I do think that way sometimes. And so it's ridiculous. I'm devaluing all the work I have put in and the people that I really do care about. But you can live in your head, but that's not me. That is my childhood internalized parent voice saying that. That's not Kim. And I'm guessing it's not you either, right? That's what we do. So if you were raised by parents like this, it's so important to get a hold of this idea that you only matter when you're performing and delivering. It's just not true. You matter because of who you are. You do. Now you just have to go know that. So, thank you for being here. Please stay safe and well, and I will see you tomorrow.